Hello everyone, and I welcome you all in my channel Viccharvita. So, you already know that India's skies are in chaos right now. Thousands of travelers stranded, weddings cancelled, business trips ruined, and all because of one airline, and that is IndiGo. It decided to play by its own rules. Indigo is not just another airline. It commands a massive share of domestic air travel, and that is around 65%. You know, the DGCA, that is the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, had recently introduced stricter flight duty time limitations every tier for pilots, more rest, fewer night landholdings to reduce fatigue. Airlines across the country had advance notice, but unlike some competitors, Indigo didn't sufficiently ramp up pilot hiring or adjust its rosters. Instead, it maintained a lean, high utilization model. When rules went into effect, was predictable. Roster chaos, crew shortages, and massive flight cancellations nationwide. Thousands of flights. Because Indigo controls over 65% of the domestic market, its collapse threatened to paralyze two-thirds of all internal air travel in India. Faced with mounting public outrage, massive passenger distress, and logistical chaos at airports, the government was forced into damage control mode. Reportedly, the DGCA temporarily suspended the new pilot duty rules, effectively relaxing the decision that was earlier considered important for safety. This reversal shows indirectly how Indigo's influence and dominance pressured regulators to backtrack. A crisis triggered by its own governance failures resulted in a U turn by authorities. With 65% share, Indigo runs a huge number of daily flights, thousands across hundreds of sectors. Many of its routes are essentially monopoly routes. Data suggested a significant fraction of sectors are served only by Indigo, with no competitor on board. This means ordinary passengers don't have alternatives when Indigo fails. No competitor flights to switch to, no backup, no competition. That makes Indigo's mistakes not just its own business risk, but a systematic risk. Because it is too big to fail, the airline might feel or act immune to consequences. That concentration of market power becomes dangerous for fairness, service quality, and customer rights. The 2025 disruption, according to reports, over 2,100 flights cancelled across the country as of early December 2025. Many grounded flights, passengers stranded at airports, huge inconvenience across cities. Critics argue that this was not just an operational failure, but a result of intentional underpreparation by Indigo, knowing full well its dominance would force regulators' hands. The collapse so big underlines how fragile the reliance on a single airline is. Once that airline stumbles, the entire system suffers. As per recent reports, Indigo operates over 2,200 flights daily. While exact numbers of how much it earns from Indian customers aren't publicly broken down, this scale, high frequency, monopolistic routes, and dominance on domestic travel means the bulk of its revenue comes from Indian travelers. Its dominance and load under normal times probably ensure significant profits. Some public commentary and investor community posts claim high profitability. Example from public forum, Indigo basically owns Indian aviation right now 7,250 crore profits. But the crisis shows that such high earnings or perceived profitability come with heavy responsibility and systematic risk. With such a dominant player, any misstep by Indigo, regulatory failure, operational mismanagement, labor issues can disrupt a major chunk of national air travel. That's a systematic vulnerability. It undermines or discourages competition. Other carriers find it hard to compete when one airline controls most routes. Passengers have fewer alternatives even when service degrades. Long term consumer harm, poor service, unpredictability, risk of monopoly driven pricing, lack of accountability, and potential exploitation of passengers due to lack of alternative choices. This sets a dangerous precedent. Airlines might prioritize cost per volume over safety, service, or compliance, expecting regulators to cave in when pressure builds. We should also encourage and support growth of other domestic carriers, smaller airlines, so the market isn't overly dependent on one. Regulatory or policy support might be needed for this. Enforce compliance strictly. Dominance should never be a reason to dilute safety or labor regulations. Regulators must remain firm regardless of size. We should also promote fair competition, open up routes, revisit licensing, cabotage laws, remove barriers to entry for new players, encourage regional airlines. Some analysts are already calling this a duopoly, monopoly crisis. Improve passenger rights protection, mandatory refund, alternate transport, penalties for airlines for cancellations to hold them accountable. IndiGo's dominance once seemed like a success story of Indian aviation: low cost travel, fast growth, connectivity. But today, that very dominance has become a liability. When one airline controls two-thirds of domestic air travel, its failures aren't private, they affect millions. And the ripples go beyond stranded passengers. They shake trust in the entire aviation sector, threaten fair competition, and put regulators in a bind. For India's skies to be safe, fair, and reliable, competition must be revived. Other airlines must get space to grow. Regulators must act firmly, and passengers must demand better, because no one, not even the biggest airline, should be too big to fail. If you like my content, you can like and share and subscribe this video to your favorites and aware other people